Morning. I've got two tasks for today. The first one is mounting the forward-backward thing for the motor and running the wiring through. I've got a fair idea of where I'm going to do that, so hopefully that should be okay. The second thing is to mount and run the wires for the 48 volt to 12 volt converter, so that all the 12 volt electrics will work. I've got a stretch goal as well, which is at the moment the companionway hatch leaks like crazy when it rains. I've got a fair idea where it's coming in, but I need to take all that apart so that I can see where the problem is and then start to rebuild it. This is where the old controls went, so the forward and backwards and the throttle. I've just got one here, but I think that this is the best place to mount it. Because what I can do is I can get it there like that, and then I'm not using up too much seating space. The thing with this is that, unlike most other throttle controls, it's actually bottom mounted, so most of the other ones actually fit on the side, so they're going to be on a sidewall. So I think if I put some blocks in here to kind of raise this up, put it like that, then that should be the best place for it. The other place that I looked at was just here, drilling a hole down there and then kind of bolting it to this thing, but that's going to take up some sitting room, so if I put it there, then it really minimises the amount of disruption. Also means I don't need to cut any more holes. I might have to widen a couple of the ones that I already have, but that's not too much trouble. So with this handy little tool, I've managed to undo the throttle unit here, and it's got one green and yellow earth wire and it's got two black wires. I kind of assume that the black wires, doesn't matter which way they go round, but you can see that the earth wire is next to this flat here, so when I put it back together I'll need to put it back on that flat. But at the moment I'm going to disconnect it so that I can get it through the various holes that I need to run it through. So this is how the outer of the what is it? It's a socket, I suppose. It still should work. So we've got that bit, then that bit, then that bit, and then that bit, and that screws in and kind of pulls it all together. So I will now remember how to put it back together. So what I've been doing is making a template. So this is the first template, and here's the wedge that I've cut based on that template. I need to cut a little bit here just so that I can run the cable through. Here's the second template. You can see because of the shape I've already cut that nick in it. I'm just about to cut the second little thing now, hold it all up, so it's all going into place. There we go. I'll put this together. I am going to glue it together and paint it all later, but just getting it into position now. So that goes there, and now I'm going to put the throttle control on top of it. So I need to thread this all the way through. Do that now. And I've cut a little hole there so that I can thread the cable out to the back where there's already a hole. That's where the old throttle cables were. That's what it's going to look like in position. I can't kind of screw it all in yet because I don't have the right bolts. It looks like 6mm bolts. And all the ones I've got here are look like they're old Imperial ones. I'll have a search through later, but I might just have to order them. Right. Just feeling for the hole. There it is. Feeling it in now. Right, so it's coming down here into this big locker. I've got a get a few things out to see if I can find the hole that it goes down into. Down there, the two holes that were from the old cable controls. So let's see if I can get them in now. There we go. So that was like right at the furthest that I could possibly reach, like right with my fingertips, but managed to get it in. Right, now down below. Yeah, there it is. Pull it all through. There we go. Okay. Right, let's reassemble the connector and see if I can still control the motor. So I put all the bits back together in the right order, so hopefully that'll mean that I can get everything right. Right, so the flat one is the earth, that goes in there, that's it. The connectors have to be for it to go in the direction you want. So kind of the same with this, isn't it? There we go. That goes in there. We've got this little thing that screws in. That goes there. Get the tool. That's nice and tight. That's nice and tight too. Right, so there's a little notch which is at the bottom. That goes on there. That's it. Okay. That screws in. Good. Okay, so let's reattach the motor, just make sure it all works. Okay, so that's one. So I had a bit of a flash of inspiration. These are the 6mm studs. I had a couple spare from the battery, and these are obviously M6 threaded holes. So I've added those in, and then that means that I can attach the wire, the cable, with the nut from the battery, so that's great. Doesn't need to be too tight, just enough to give a firm connection. That's it. Just check that this is in neutral before turning it on. Turn it on. That sounds good. Green light. So let's give it a little bit of power. There we go. Now we're on to wiring up the 48 to 12 volt converter. I think I've found a way of running the wires. The way we need to go is through this bulkhead here, through this locker, which is where all the tools are, into here, which is where all my paint and various kind of oils and things are, through here, which is the old battery box. Then I can put it at the base of the switch panel. Let's see how that goes. So I've run it through the old battery compartment and connected it into the 48 volt to 24 volt, sorry, the 48 volt to 12 volt converter. So 48 volt plus, minus. I've used these heat shrink connectors, which have got like a low melt point solder in them. So a really good way of making a very good and waterproof connection. Much better than these things. So I'm going to connect up the other end now and give it a try. So there it all is connected up. This is just temporary at the moment. Obviously I won't have these bits of wires. This wire isn't particularly thick enough. It's thick enough at the moment, but I'll put some decent wire in because this is like a 25 amp I think output maximum. One of the things that's a bit nasty about it is it must have some capacitors on the input which discharge fairly quickly, so it's a bit finicky to start. What you have to do is like turn everything off, like the battery off, the inverter charger, connect it up and you still get sparks, and then charge them up using the little resistor that I'm used to charge the capacitors on the inverter charger, then switch it on again, and that all seemed to work this time. But yeah, it looks all right. It's putting out a steady 12.3 volts with the 48 volt input. So there we go. Well, not a bad day at all, really. I got the two things that I wanted to do done. So I got the throttle controller wired in, built that nice little bridge so that it's going to be, I think, really well situated when I start actually to use it. Got the 48 volt to 12 volt converter in place. It's a bit of a faff, but that's all good. I didn't manage my stretch goal, which was doing the companionway hatch, but you know, got something to do for another day. All in all, pretty good.